Hey everyone, just want to do something a little bit different for today. So I just want to respond to a question I've got just actually today. So this is from Jamie Boyd Music 6956. So thanks very much, Jamie, for your question, mate. I won't read out the "I love the channel so much" part because it just sounds like I'm stroking myself over it all. But we'll just go straight to the question. So he's just saying, I've two questions for you. He's about to service his transmission, his D3. So he said, one, did you make the switch to Penrite B&V and do a transmission oil change? And even though some mix with LG6, there's left in the torque converter, obviously. And two, am I better off taking the cooler line off or just remove my drain pan or my pan plug? Mine has the plug, and this service I'll change the filter and the valve body seals. So let's we'll hit the first question first. So did you make the switch to Penrite B&V? Yes, I have. Okay, and do a transmission oil change even though you mix some with the LG6. Now that is a pretty cool question because I've actually got some results from my changeover when I've done some oil samples. I made the changeover to B&V, it was back in 2019, and I'm just going to share some of basically the new oil samples with you here. So I'll just whack them up here so you can run with it with me. So the one on the left, obviously I've marked the top, one's B&V and one's LG6. Now obviously I mentioned this is brand new oil, so it hasn't been used. Now we can tell a little bit of difference in the add pack, so particularly in the phosphorus levels and the calcium levels, and also a bit of the boron levels. So everything else is kind of fairly trace elements. So obviously there is a difference there. And if we go below as well, we can see the B&V has a little bit higher viscosity, two viscosity readings there. So the top one, the higher figure, is at 40 degrees, and the lower value is at 100 degrees. Like I said, the B&V is a little bit thicker. The oxidation levels are relatively close now. I would say, looking at that oxidation levels, it's a fair chance it's a synthetic base oil with probably a little bit of ester to bring that oxidation level up. So, but because if we keep in mind the additive packs from both of those units, so I'd done the first oil sample that was 12,000 kilometres after I'd put the B&V in. Now, what I want to worth note here is that I'd flushed probably around 18 to 20 litres of new B&V through the transmission. So, and that was when I'd done the change. So, look, from memory, it was hard to tell the exact amount because I was using a 20 litre drum to pump it out. And that drum was pretty empty by the time I finished, so yeah. So basically for my flush method, what I'd done was I pumped oil out. So I split the return line at the cooler, put that into a drain pan, filled up initially I pumped it out with the engine, so started up, let the oil pump it out, shut it off, refilled with new oil, pumped out again, and basically just done that process until all that roughly all that 20 litres was through, and then refilled up the pan and went from there. So even with that amount of oil flushing through, with the oil sample straight after that, 12,000 Ks after that change, I could still pick up, I would call, a significant portion of LG6 in the oil. So, and because you can sort of tell that because the additive pack is so different, So if we have a look, I'm just going to bring up mine two side by side as well so I can better refer to it. So if we look at those two together, you can see that most recent sample, the B&V, shows that the calcium and phos levels are higher than the unused B&V. So I think that signifies that there's still a reasonable portion of LG6 floating around. Viscosity is also up, so although the B&V is thicker than the LG6, the current viscosity has wound up somewhere between the two. So you can tell there's a bit of mixing going on there. Yeah, the new oil, there's a drop in contamination levels since the last sample when it changed. So that would have been likened to a further, that signifies the new oil going in, which obviously brings down your contamination. So yeah, so basically looking at those results, I think you're always going to get some sort of mixing going on, regardless of how careful you are. Probably maybe the only way to get it to improve it would be to use a proper trans flush machine, but there may still be some mixing going on there. So you'd probably want to, well, unless you test the oil, you're never going to really know 100%. So I guess that's a long-winded answer to that first question, I suppose, isn't it? So we'll hit that second question. Is am I better off taking my cooler line off or just removing my pan plug? Look, if you've got a pan plug, I just use it. It's cleaner, easier. Yeah, it's not too much of a problem. What I'm doing with my trans in my D3 now is I'm doing an oil change, or basically like a partial oil change, maybe every once or even every second engine oil change. So it works out, probably about max of 20 odd thousand Ks on that trans oil. It basically helps keep your contamination levels down, because as we can see, you're never really going to get 100% of your torque converter anyway. That's always going to be a problematic thing. There's lots of places for oil to mix within the auto trans. So I figured if we do a partial change, it helps bring that contamination level down and maintain that contamination level down. You're basically throwing, I don't have an issue with mixing a little bit of new and old oil. I leave dropping the pan till every about 80,000 Ks and do the internal filter. But if you're a regular viewer of my channel, you probably also notice that I run a magnifying filter on the cooler return. So that helps keep the oil a lot cleaner as well. So I guess that's a long-winded answer for a simple question. So if you'd like to see more of this style video and answers to questions, I have got my members section there, so we'll probably start to do that a lot more for members. There's currently no members, so please be the first. It's a really good way just to support the channel on a regular basis. And yeah, and I'll basically do a lot of more in-depth responses to questions like this where I can. If I've got a good answer for you, I'll throw it up. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Become a member if you really want to see more of this, and that way I can provide personalised answers just for you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.